Hi, welcome back. So in the last video, we looked at applying the short leg is x, the long leg is x squared to 3, and your hypotenuse is 2x. And we said once you have them written in order, you can kind of check because you can make sure it's x squared to 3, 2 times x. So 15 squared to 3, 2 times 15. 19 squared to 3, 2 times 19. 9 squared to 3, 2 times 9. Okay, so each time. But then we looked at this next example and we said, well, what happens when my short leg, that normally was 15, 19, and 9, what happens when all of a sudden it has a square root of 3 on it? I'm supposed to put a square root of 3 on it when it gets to the long leg. So for my long leg, the one across from the 60, over here, I'm supposed to take that short leg, 9 square root of 3, and multiply it by a square root of 3. Well, I can actually do that, right? That's going to be 9 square roots of 3 times 3 is 9. And then the square root of 9 is just 3. So that's really 9 times 3, which is 27. 9 times 3 is 27. Notice I no longer have a square root because it went away when I square rooted the 9. So this is just 27. My hypotenuse is 2 times 9 squared root of 3. So my hypotenuse here is going to be 2 times that short leg, 9 squared root of 3. 2 times 9 is 18 square root of 3. So notice if my short leg has a square root of 3 on it, so will my hypotenuse, because you're just doubling that coefficient in front of the square root. Notice my long leg no longer has a square root of 3 on it at all. Okay, because they canceled out. Square root of 3 times square root of 3 is like square root of 3 squared. And squares and square roots, we know, cancel each other out. So you always are going to end up with the square root of 9, which is always going to be multiplying by 3. But let's look at another example. Okay? All right, when I look at my next example, I am given my short leg is where I always want to start. Close that, sorry. My short leg is where I always want to start. So across from the 30 is my short leg, which I don't have. I don't know what that is. Across from my 90 is my hypotenuse, and they did give me my hypotenuse. My hypotenuse is 10 square root of 3. So I need to work backwards because we have to start at our short leg. Look at this one over here, right? 18 squared root of 3 became 9 squared root of 3. 30, 15, 38, 19, 18, 9. 18 square root of 3, 9 square root of 3. So each time we're dividing in half, right, to work backwards. So if I divide 10 square root of 3 in half, if I have 10 apples divided in half, that's going to be 5 apples, right? So 10 square root of 3's divided in half is going to be 5 square root of 3. Okay, so now we have to tackle the long leg. My long leg is right here. So my long leg is that short leg, 5 square root of 3, times another square root of 3. And the same thing that happened here, my square root of 3 times square root of 3 is going to become the square root of 9. And we know the square root of 9 becomes just 3, so this is going to be 5 times 3. So that's going to be 5 times 3, which is just 15, and I no longer have a square root because it went away when I took the square root of 9. So I've got 5 square root of 3, 15, 10 square root of 3. So let's see if we can use a pattern to figure out our final question here on this row. Okay? All right, so for this last one, I'm supposed to start with my short leg, and my short leg is here, so I don't know what it is. My hypotenuse is here, which means they gave me my long leg as 18. Okay, so now if I want to work backwards, let's try to look at the pattern and see how can I get from 27, oops, I didn't mean to actually write that. See if I can erase just that, yep. Okay, how can I get from my 27 to my 9 square roots of 3, or from my 15 to my 5 square roots of 3? Well, look how I got the 27. It was 9 times 3. Look how I got my 15. It was 5 times 3. So if I want to work backwards, I know I'm going to end up with a square root of 3 on it, but that number in front, to find it, I'm going to take my long leg and divide it by 3 and get 6. square roots of 3, right? Because that way, when I go forward, 9 times 3 gives me my 27, 5 times 3 gives me my 15, and 6 times 3 will give me my 18. Once I have my short leg, now I can go down to my hypotenuse and do 6 square root of 3 is going to become 12 square root of 3 because we're going to double it. Okay, so 9 square root of 3, 9 times 3, 2 times 9 square root of 3, 5 square root of 3, 5 times 3, 2 times 5 square root of 3, 6 times 3, 6 square root of 3, 6 times 3, 2 times 6 square root of 3. So you have to look at which pattern you're looking at. Is my square root of 3 on the short leg and the hypotenuse, or is my square root of 3 where it belongs on the long leg? That's going to determine which type of problem you're going to be doing. Okay? All right, so let's look at 7, and then we will take a break and come back to another video to look at the rest of these. Okay? Just so we can see how we can determine which pattern we're going to use. Okay, actually, you know what? We'll do 7 and 8, and then we'll do 9 through 12 in the next video. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is find my short leg, because I always have to start at my short leg, which is great. That's what they gave me, 12 square root of 3. So now I'm going to look back at my notes and say, okay, my square root of 3 is on my short leg. Which pattern is that? So I'm going to look back up here in my notes and say, which pattern has my short leg with the square root of 3? So not this one, it's my second pattern. 9 square root of 3, 9 times 3, and then double it, right? So I'm going to multiply by 3 to get here, and I'm going to double it to get here. Multiply by 3, and then double it. So I'm going to multiply by 3. 12 times 3 for my long leg tells me this one is 12 times 3 is 36. And then I'm going to double it to get to my hypotenuse, which is going to be 24 square roots of 3. Okay, let's look at one more, and then we will save the rest for the next video. All right, so again, the first thing we want to do is find that 30-degree angle, because I know across from that is my short side, and we want the short side, which, yay, that's what they gave me. So now my short leg does not have a square root of 3 on it, so I'm going to go and look and see which pattern that is. So that's going to be my first one, because my second one does have a square root of 3. So 15, 15 square root of 3, 15 times 2. 19, 19 square root of 3, 19 times 2. 9, 9 square root of 3, 9 times 2. So this is the first one we learned. 14, I take that 14, square root of 3, and then I double the 14, 28. Okay, so these are our two patterns, so we can see them in one place. So we have, this one's really pattern number 1. That's the first one we learned, and this one is pattern number 2, the second one we learned. Okay, so when we come back, we're going to figure out which pattern the last 4 problems from our notes will fall into. Okay, thank you so much for watching.